Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast comes from two lifelong fans of IndyCar and other forms of motorsport. I cannot do this podcast alone, so I do this podcast with my co-host, Tim Reiner. Timmy, what's up, dude?
What's going on, Dan?
How are you?
I'm awesome today. How are you today?
I'm good. Listen, right before I hit record, I thought of a great Twitter poll for our Twitter, for our podcast
I know
Twitter.
what it's going to be.
What do you think it's going to be?
What's on my hat?
No, is Tim's coffee fresh if it was brewed earlier today and it's 7:30 when he's podcasting?
Yeah, 7:30 at night. We're podcasting. I brewed it probably about 7:30 this morning. It's only 12 hours old.
Yeah.
Little microwave.
Mine is 20 minutes old.
Well, you got to Keurig at your house.
I didn't Keurig this. This is a full pot.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. Well, I don't think it's old. Tomorrow it'll be old, but I'll still drink it.
We're gonna send it to the listeners, Timmy. We're gonna find out what that is.
We're gonna find out if it's old or if it's.
Yes.
I think it's still fresh. Not if you go to a restaurant, but at your own house, sure.
Yeah, I know. I know you do.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get started, I got a quick shout out to Charlie Mack, one of our faithful listeners. Actually, I should Twitter or our YouTube watchers. Charlie Mack, who is on the mend after a trip to the factory for some upgrades. So, Charlie, haven't heard from you. I hope you're doing well. When I checked in last time, you said you seem to be doing well. So, hope you are continuing along that way.
Yeah.
So,
it's new news to me. So, hope you're doing well, Charlie.
Yeah, you know what else is new news to you? I didn't script this thing like I normally do.
I don't know. Everybody. Now everybody knows what we're going to talk about.
If the listeners ever picked up on the idea that our show on my end is largely scripted. I write almost everything I say, and I say it, right?
Everybody knows that.
I have like 6-7 pages of scripting. So I don't know if I've been getting away with that for 87 episodes or not, but
oh yeah, it's 88.
Today's no script. So bear with me. It's killing me.
I think everybody already turned it off. Already done after hearing that.
After looking at that mouse hat. What's the hat?
It's not a mouse. It's a Rogue Fitness. It's a bodybuilder.
Love it.
I've taken up a new sport, Dan. I'm now lifting.
Love it.
Look for me to bulk up over here.
Oh, you must have, did you sell the bike for the
no,
for the dues?
I still have the bike.
Oh, I can't see it in the background there.
No, it's over here. Let me turn. Hey, you can see the seat a little bit there. No, I still have my bike.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. It's dark here. As you know, it's nighttime.
Right.
And I still have my stationery downstairs. I've got all the equipment, everything that's needed, even to do this stuff. Got one of those down there too.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue Fitness.
Rogue Fitness, based out of the great state of Ohio.
We're getting all this free advertising for all these companies. Love it.
But when you wear different stuff, it's kind of one of those things that you just you comment on it. So we got to talk about it.
Can't help myself.
Do you have something else there that you got behind the scenes that you're going to show us today?
Oh, we'll get there
earlier.
We'll get there.
Okay, just not yet.
Keep everybody in suspense, Tim.
That coffee's so hot it just steamed my glasses.
I love it. Hey, Tim.
Yo.
IndyCar. We are an IndyCar forward podcast, are we not? So
yeah, we try to do our best on the IndyCar side. Yeah,
I think it's good that we start at the top.
And it's the
IndyCar.
true off season, right? Nobody's racing, right?
Nobody's racing.
IMSA had some practice at Daytona, but
homologation.
Yeah.
How do you like that? Homologation testing, balance of power. Not a great few weeks for IndyCar, Tim. So it begs a quick game of big deal or big deal. Timmy, the latest news, no hybrid to start the season. Big deal or big deal?
Big deal.
You don't care?
No, I don't care.
Seriously?
No.
Twitter's gone crazy, Tim. They're like, they want new ownership. They're begging for, Tony George to come back.
I don't think any of us are even going to know when they're out there whether they have a hybrid engine or not. So what's the big deal? I understand that it's about carbon emissions and all that other stuff. But the
It's
only
already
thing that
renewable
is a big
fuels,
deal in this
right?
thing is the additional horsepower, but the
Mhm.
additional weight, I think, displaces it. So it doesn't really
Probably.
amount to anything.
Yep.
So I think you just turn the boost up on them all season long and just let those engines rip.
Right.
You know how they have carb day and they turn the wick up on them and they
Mhm.
do it for qualifying. They should do that all the time. Think about it. Think about it when we fell in love with IndyCar.
Oh,
900
the 1,000
horsepower.
horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Now
But
it's
there was also the time
600.
where they had, right, engine for practice, engine for qualifying, engine for race.
Yeah.
They'd leave the races, they'd go testing again. I mean, that was part of our interview with Max Pappas. If you haven't listened to it yet, take a listen because he talks about it, the
Oh,
very
yeah.
intensive development that went on behind the scenes in the old Champ Car days, right?
For sure.
Um, I would suspect that type of situation would probably encourage one of these engine manufacturers to leave even sooner, because in IndyCar's no good week last week, there was a talk that Honda had mentioned about potentially pulling out of the series in 2026 if costs weren't better mitigated. Tim,
Which comes down to
I'm not even going to ask. Tim, that is a big deal.
it is a big deal. I think it's just shooting over the bow, just kind of a warning shot to say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we need to have some changes here. And I think there was promise. I think there's a lot of promise about having a third manufacturer, and that third manufacturer would help control costs because then you don't have an engineer on every team, and you're supporting 9 cars versus 15, whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
18,
yeah, yeah. So you look at it that way and go, okay, that's the way to mitigate costs. But I think there's other things you can do, and Honda's been a partner for 30 plus years, right around 30 years. I think it's a shoot over the bow, and I think obviously people blew up about it for sure, and it's definitely something to worry about. But I think at the end of
that's
the
definitely
day,
something to worry about. That would keep me
but I
up. If
think
I worked for Penske Entertainment in IndyCar and Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'd be very, very concerned about that.
yeah, yeah, and there are people pointing the fingers at certain individuals at IndyCar
Mm-hmm.
as well. So
Yeah.
it's a big
So
deal for sure.
I'm going to bring all this together after this next one. Tim, moving away from larger displacement. Remember, these engines were supposed to go to 2.4 liter along with the hybrid. Instead, we're just kind of tacking the hybrid onto the existing 2.2 liter. Is that a big deal? I'm going to guess you don't think that's a big deal.
I don't think it is, but I guess I need to understand the engineering behind what they're putting out there, right? From a passenger standpoint, performance vehicles. I think if you look at that, maybe that
There's
more
so many
aligns
cars
with,
out there, 2 liter 4 cylinders, two something 4 cylinders,
yeah.
with big turbos.
Mm-hmm.
My BMW,
Yeah.
I drove that BMW for a little while. It was fun to drive. It was a 2 liter something turbo 4.
Yeah. A lot of them have gone to
Mm-hmm.
that. So I think staying in the smaller displacement probably makes sense, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
it does. Here's the deal: costs. Right, Mahle, Mahle, was the company that was supposed to be kicking off this hybridization in IndyCar, and I think that went away. Right, I think they were behind time. I think they were having some trouble with meeting deadlines. So Honda and Chevy, at the behest of IndyCar, stepped in to pick up the development cost. And it came at the expense of 2.4 liter. So they said, we can't do this 2.4 liter if you expect us to pick up, right, this dropped ball on the hybridization. So that went away. That cost went over there. It's going to get more expensive. It continues to get more expensive. And I think that people in the series, Chevy and Honda in particular, were looking for that third engine manufacturer, which has not come. I still say it's Toyota. I can't imagine anybody else really coming in, or anybody else that makes sense coming in. But I think I also said it earlier in the season when it was announced that Honda was going to consolidate their racing manufacturing, right? What we knew as HPD in the US and then Honda Japan, which was like in support of the Formula One efforts and some of their other European racing efforts. And then those two were consolidating, cost reasons, right? Tim, what's going to go by the wayside? IndyCar. And I said it then, and I'm saying it now, and here we are. Right? Because when Honda board, right? Honda Japan, that's why they keep dipping in and out of Formula One racing, right? We're all in, and then, oh, God, we got to get out. We're in. Oh, God, we got to get out. Well, let's sell everything to Red Bull. And now they're staying in and going to try to rebuild everything after selling everything to Red Bull, trying to rebuild their whole program to go racing with Aston Martin. How that makes any sense to me? Nobody will ever convince me that that's a great idea for Honda. They don't even supply them engines on the road side.
It seems bizarre.
Right. So that just doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense that Honda's talking about this? Absolutely. Is it unexpected? Sure as hell wasn't expected by me.
No, I don't think it was.
Nope.
I think obviously they're looking for return on investment, and you look at what
never going to get there though. A little better return, a little less loss. I think is what they're looking for.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to put more money into that program, I would say, than IndyCar. No doubt about it. Even to support two cars. But I think what you see with what's going on with the fan base there, and what's happened with Formula One, and all the manufacturers that want to be there. You think you sort of got to get back in, right? You think Ford wants to go there for sure. And so you kind of go, how do we compete overall?
Yeah. How does Ford not want to come to IndyCar and race at the Speedway?
I don't know.
They haven't wanted to be here since they left Champ Car.
Yeah.
But they want to go. They want to go to Formula One. I get that they are able to build a partnership with the best team in Formula One. There's ebbs and flows there. If you're a Formula One fan and not a Drive to Survive fan, you realize that doesn't last. So Ford could be getting on board with what they think is going to be another Red Bull dynasty. And
what happens if the team sinks?
What happens if Adrian Newey gets poached by Ferrari? What happens if Adrian Newey gets poached by Aston Martin? Right?
Yep. It's
good luck with that.
It's
I even
challenging
posted
times
pictures
for sure for IndyCar. You're at a crossroads here of how do you keep moving forward, which I think they've done somewhat. I think from a fan perspective, having people at the events, from throwing on good events, they've really upped their game. Now it's how do you have a new chassis? How do you have more engine manufacturers? And how do you keep this going and not have it sort of crumble underneath you? And that's sort of like the foundation. Like, how do you have that foundation of car engine to help the series? And that's what's needed.
So you mentioned chassis. Mark Miles was on record last week of saying that hybridization is taking priority over a new chassis. Do you also remember earlier in the season them saying, well, with the hybrid coming, there's going to be some new body pieces and the car's going to look all different? I saw a lot of testing. Of this hybrid. Car don't look any different to me.
No, not at all.
So that didn't really come alive either. That's a big deal, Tim.
That's a huge deal.
Right? It's 2000. They say, well, it's really 2018. So the chassis really isn't a 12. It's a 12. It's had a lot of updates since. Yes, I get it. Right. But it's a 12. It doesn't look sexy. It's not the best looking Formula One or Formula Series car out there, period.
No, not
and
at
they
all.
used to be. Right. When you see the current, those old Reynards and the Lolas
Swift.
and even, right. Yeah. They still look good.
They do.
And I'm not particularly nostalgic. You know what I mean? I'm not particularly nostalgic. And I'm going to go there. So let's just put that on pause. Here, continuing these efforts, right? Video game flop, big deal or big deal?
It's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think when you look at video gaming age, this is the age of it. And, you pull it from iRacing, which is a huge platform. You got to have a presence, whether it's the game that you're playing now, which the name
Forza Motorsport. I'm Wrecky.
Yeah. I started playing that after our last show, by the way.
You realize you're Wrecky too.
Unless you have a presence there or you have your own game, you got to do something, right? F1's got their own game. NASCAR's got their own game. Everybody else is playing in all these other platforms. You got to do it. And they swung and hit air. That's all they did
Yeah,
on that
totally.
deal.
Yep.
Horrible.
Promotional efforts, I think by the
And let me
series,
back up.
I
I
think
don't
that's
think
still
it's
bad
that
too.
hard to hit a home run there. Like, I don't think it's that difficult to get a video game or in a video game or have your cars featured, come up with a series, work with iRace. Like, how hard is that? Like, it can't be
I don't
that.
know.
You got to pay a little
Obviously,
bit, I'm
it's
sure,
very
but
difficult. Yeah.
at the end of the day, you need to do that for exposure.
Yeah. I'm waiting to sneeze.
Oh no.
Okay.
We're waiting, folks. Give us a
So
minute.
collectively, Tim, I think all of this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll even add a little extra to it, right? The Texas hiatus, which I keep calling it the hiatus. NASCAR going back to Iowa. Be careful, right?
Yep.
The Thermal Club, VIP Rich Boys Club event, right? No points. It's kind of,
Never liked it.
right? I don't understand
I don't
any of
think it's
this
good for
stuff.
the series. It
I
doesn't relate
don't.
to
It
the
doesn't
average
move the
person.
series forward at all.
No.
That doesn't
I
appeal
agree.
to anything in the fan base. First of all, it's in the wrong geography. It's on Peacock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically just right. It's a little bit of a measuring contest, Tim, right? For all those guys that are out there. So
that is what it is.
it means absolutely nothing to me. Absolutely nothing to me. Will I watch it? Absolutely. You know why? Because I got this and I got a show.
Yep.
So, but otherwise, I think it brings zero value to the series. Here's the thing. When you're looking at this series and the way that this series is operating currently, it's still trying to operate with one foot in the history, the nostalgia, and it's afraid to kind of go all in, right? And that's where we're at. We're going back to Milwaukee. Oh, everybody want to go back to Milwaukee. We need more ovals on the race on the schedule, right? There's too many of the road course programs.
There are some people that really like the oval racing, but
yes, I get it. I understand. Build new events.
Yeah.
You built a new event at Iowa, but we can't go somewhere else. And for some reason, we're afraid to build a new event in Texas. We're afraid to build a new event at Phoenix or
I think you
Richmond
have to be
or
away a little bit to bring back
Miami
the
or
excitement
something.
to some of these areas, though. You gotta be absent for a while and come back with fanfare and a good promoter and other events around it in order to really make it
fanfare and a good promoter. Tim, you know who's promoting in Milwaukee? IndyCar.
Yeah. Penske Entertainment. Yeah.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it sounds like they're gonna have to do that at more and more events to really spruce these up.
That doesn't put money in the bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not self-dealing, but it's right. It's my wife putting on a great show, right? She's going to pay me to promote it, but I fronted her the money to put on the show.
Yeah, I get it, but at the end, you got to be making some money at some point, at least recouping some of it, right? Through ticket sales, merchandise,
holding costs low,
beverages, everything.
And holding costs low. 12-year-old chassis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a engine manufacturer who's talking about the need to reduce costs because we're not raising costs there, right? We reduced the winner circle payouts to help the marketing budget.
Help the marketing side of it.
No idea what we did with any of that.
I don't know either.
So what I'm saying is they're trying to build a new series, but they're trying to do it like with a 20-year-old playbook, which is the same thing that I say about, well, hey, you know what? If you need a new driver, it's Ryan Hunter-Race out there, right? He'll bring his helmet.
Yeah, okay, you should call
20-year-old, 20-year-old highlight reel, right? No, Connor Daly. If you're not looking at Connor Daly for one of your open spots, you're missing out. Connor had years to prove himself.
Sure did. Yep.
Right?
Not
picking on anybody in particular. It's the idea of it, right? It's the idea of it. You know what? You know when Champ Car was super sexy? Who the hell is this Zanardi guy? Who the hell is this Juan Pablo Montoya guy?
Yeah.
Kenny Breck? Never heard of him. Scott Dixon? Never heard of him. right? Elio Castroneves. Never heard of him. Kid's got
Yeah.
no money. He's got talent. Let's put him in a car.
You know, I feel like I don't feel like IndyCar is like in a terrible spot. Obviously, there's
Totally
been a
agree.
lot of bad news over the last 2 weeks, and that's what sort of shaped the show today.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm still excited about 2024, what's going to take place and how it kind of goes down. There's just things that Penske
Yeah.
Entertainment and the whole
Yeah.
series needs to work on to get just to right the ship, right? I think
Yeah.
the ship is leaning a little too much right now, and there's some things that they got to do in order to make it happen. And delaying the hybrid doesn't,
It
obviously they
doesn't do
needed
anything
more,
for me.
doesn't do it. Yeah, like, okay,
Yeah.
let's solidify engine manufacturers. Let's not have Honda come out and say what they're saying, but obviously it's good for them to voice it. They've got a reason behind
Yeah.
their methodology and coming about it now, and just saying something needs to change. And so I'm sure everybody at Penske Entertainment is working hard. Everybody at the series is working hard to make it happen. And at the end of the day, I think it'll be all right. I honestly do, because I think that you put out a great product. If you look at some of the polls about what's the best racing you've seen lately, IndyCar pops to the top of the
Totally
chart all
agree.
the time. So something
Totally
good's got to
agree. But
come out
when
of
I
this.
tell somebody, or if I mention that I do a racing podcast, the first thing they ask me, did you go to
Yeah.
Vegas?
You're like, not that racing.
Not that
It's
racing.
I don't
IndyCar.
Drive
What's the
to
difference?
Survive just did wonders for the series. I think what they've got from a manufacturing standpoint, backing, what you have from building your own vehicles and all that goes into that, from unveiling their liveries, it's really a show, and it's almost turned into almost a circus at some point. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot going on. They've cultivated and developed the personalities of a lot of these drivers, and you have much further reach. You got to think about that when you have drivers from other countries, and you have races in those countries, then it gives people an opportunity to go see their heroes. And this is an American oval series, was what it was sort of dreamed up to be at one point, but
The
obviously,
IRL. Yeah.
yeah, and now it's it's a mixed bag, and you got very few ovals, you got a lot of road courses, and you have some people from other countries for sure, but you're kind of in the middle of F1 and NASCAR. NASCAR is like all
Still
American.
4 million viewers, right? 4 million
Yeah.
viewers.
And you got everybody enjoying that series that loves that type of racing. And then you've got Formula One that appeals to a broader audience, in my opinion.
It's still only 1 million viewers a week. It's about what IndyCar is. But
It is
they
here in the
have the
US.
larger part of the mind share for whatever reason,
Yeah.
right? And the racing's terrible,
Yeah. But you have 3 races.
right?
IndyCar's got 17 in
Right.
the States, right? And
Yeah.
you got the same
Yeah.
amount of viewers.
Yep. Yeah. Go figure.
Their
All right, we move
international
on.
reach is going to attract other manufacturers and
They
things
got to
of
figure
that sort
something out about that.
that IndyCar can't compete with. Yeah.
Yep. They're going to have to figure something out about that. What I suspect the compromise there will be larger engine lease cost.
Yeah. You got to put it goes back to the teams and then back to the sponsors.
Yeah. Yep. Because who do you get? At this point, we're going into 2024. I'm not sure you could have an engine manufacturer up to speed, no pun intended, for the 2026 season. It would be tight, right? And we don't want another Lotus situation where you've got a mess on the track there. So,
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Just voicing our concerns. It's been a crappy week for IndyCar. If you're IndyCar, you'd be a little concerned about what's happening there. The product is still great. The racing is still, which is the product, of course, is still great. Just got to get people to tune in, but you can't afford to lose anybody right now because you're not going to plug the hole by Honda leaving. Yep. Honda supported this series single-handed for a while. So you don't want to lose somebody like Honda. So, hey, Mark Miles, speaking of, he kind of confirmed the return of 100 Days of Indy. As you know, I love that because Mark Miles is the king of the hedge speak. I don't think he really commits to anything. So I got a couple of things. So he's got quotes saying, This comes courtesy of Racer. We will soon announce two things, he tells Racer. One is the international distribution of 100 Days of Indy to Indy Season 1, which is exciting. Not sure why, but nonetheless. And two will be the arrangements for Season 2. So I'm not saying that it's 100% done, yada, yada. But we're quite confident that we'll be in good shape and would be excited about it continuing into Season 2. What did he say there?
He said we might have a show next
We
year.
have distribution for Season 1 internationally.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a year old already. And second,
that could draw.
We're pretty sure we're going to have a Season 2.
Yeah, that could draw some additional people looking at IndyCar, though.
It was 100,000 viewers an episode. If I read the release right, it's 100 and some thousand viewers an episode.
Yeah.
Right? Combined, the 6 episodes generated 1.1 million viewers during their premieres, with an average of 193,500 views per debut episode. More views earned via streaming. So 20% more viewers via streaming? I don't know. Can't be that.
Can I ask you, did you enjoy the series?
I thought it was okay. I think it was great. It's not Drive to Survive, but I thought it was okay.
All right. I was just curious.
Did you?
I watched some of it. I'm not big into it. I don't even watch Drive to Survive because it's a little hokey to me, and I think it's a little.
That's why I watch it, because I get a kick out of it.
Yeah, so it just doesn't appeal to me as a viewer, so I don't tend to watch those. So I'll just put it that way. So
yeah,
but yeah, I know you enjoy that kind of stuff. So I'm just wondering if you thought it was.
I thought it was
worth
okay.
a Season 2. Is it worth a Season 2 in your mind?
Sure. Build on what you did last year. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Build on what you did last year. Let's go to Season 2.
I don't know how you go into that and not have a 3-year deal. Like how do you?
Yeah.
That's the bad negotiating part.
193,500 viewers an episode.
Yeah, you can't go. We're gonna do a season and then we'll reevaluate like that. Yeah. That seems like kind of half baked.
I don't know the situation behind there, but I suspect that it was partially IndyCar going out there trying to find somebody to do it. And they're probably on the other side with somebody that probably thought, no, I would love to do an IndyCar show like that, and just don't know how I'd do it.
Well, just think of contracts you work on. Like, you don't do 1-year deals.
No, you're absolutely right.
So why is IndyCar doing 1-year deals? Like, I think it's bad.
The king of the hedge, number one, they don't want to spend any money, number two, and they're beholden to some 20-year-old playbook. We just got done talking about it. That's why. They don't go all in on anything.
Well, I think
they're thoroughly committed to being uncommitted.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
You asked me if that's a big deal or not a big. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, we got big news, and I think it's going to be a big deal. Our last topic in IndyCar. Big news coming from Ganassi and Alex Palou tomorrow at 9 a.m. That would be Tuesday, December 12th. I do. What do you think it is?
I have not been in the loop, so I've been out of the loop on this. I need you to take over on this one.
I'm not going to. I don't want to blow the cover, but here's what I think it is. I'll just give you the initials. DHL.
Oh, you think that's the announcement?
Yes, I really do.
That's big news.
That is big news. I hope they change the livery.
I hope it's the same thing, and you keep thinking it's right on or right out there.
God, I know, it just infuriates me. Sorry.
Oh, that would make my day. Well, hopefully there's a full-on release of the livery at the time of this DHL announcement, if that's what you think it is. But could it be any? What else could it
IndyCar?
be? I was thinking it's got to be a sponsorship deal. I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because they announced a couple weeks ago that American Legion was moving over to Kevin Simpson. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So, hey, thanks to IndyCar1909.com for chipping in a couple of topics here. Spencer, is always my, how people use spell check. Spencer's my IndyCar check. I'm like, all right, here's my topics for why everybody in IndyCar social media fandom is suffering such indignation. So, but he gave me a couple extra topics that I had overlooked.
There's one more news piece on the day.
Go ahead.
For
Lay it on me, babe. Who?
It's
What?
Detroit GP tickets went on sale today.
It's in the IMSA section. We know you didn't prepare. It's okay.
Oh, but it's IndyCar news. Why is it IMSA news?
Because to me, it's kind of the IMSA news. I'm excited to see IMSA. And that's our first try at it. We're not going to go to the Daytona 5 or Daytona 24 this year.
Yeah.
So Detroit will be our first run at it.
So yeah,
See what I
didn't
get
know
for
it was
not
in the
scripting
IMSA
the whole
news.
show.
I saw IMSA and I glanced at it.
You ready to talk F1?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's move on.
Hey, I have zero interest in this entire topic, but I had to throw it in here because, right, it's the Hodgepodge show. So, or the off-season random thoughts. I still like Hodgepodge show better, but Susie Wolf, who is Toto Wolff's wife, is the head of the F1 Academy series, and it is alleged that she had privileged knowledge that she may have shared with her husband, who may have said something in a meeting and somebody was scratching their head trying to figure out how Toto would have come by this information. That's how I understand the story. If I'm wrong, it's fine, I'm wrong. That's how I understand the story. FIA announced an investigation at almost the same time they announced that there would be no investigation. But what I find interesting about the whole thing, Tim, is that it's an allegation really against Susie Wolf, but Mercedes is threatening litigation. They're keeping their legal options open. It's my words, not theirs, but they're keeping their legal options open. So if Susie didn't do anything wrong, why is Mercedes coming to her defense legally?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be the Wolves coming to her defense legally?
I would think so. Well, what do you expect? You got someone in a position, kind of look at their roles. I think you're going to share information, even though you probably shouldn't. So,
I negotiate contracts.
In a relationship.
Yeah. I negotiate contracts with restaurant groups, right? I negotiate contracts with restaurant groups.
1 year.
My wife worked at one of those restaurant groups, regardless of the position or where in the organization she worked. I would recuse myself, right? In this situation, you can't recuse yourself necessarily, but the FIA knew what they were doing when they put Susie Wolf in charge of that academy. So go investigate yourself for doing something dumb. Ferrari has stated recently that the expectations for 2023 might have been too high. First of all, it's Ferrari, so the expectations are always too high. But who had higher expectations going into 2023, Timmy? Was it Aston Martin or was it Ferrari?
I think it was Ferrari for sure.
And do you agree, right? With basically the same premise, right? It's Ferrari. So how do you not have high expectations?
I don't think Aston had those aspirations that they came out and actually did what they did. You know, it's always a wishful thought, but I don't think it's part of your expectations. Yeah,
right. Aston overachieved in the beginning of the season. Yeah. How about going into 2024? Who has higher expectations? Ferrari, Aston, Mercedes, or McLaren?
Same team, Ferrari, because they always do.
Yeah. They didn't finish second in constructors, but do you think that they were the second best team on the grid? I do. I know that Mercedes finished there, but I think that they were.
I think they should have been.
Team, yeah. God, I don't know how.
They just make too many mistakes.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I think they had the second best package on the grid in 2023. They just didn't have the best team putting that package
executing
on the track. Yeah,
executing.
Yeah. Would you agree with that?
And they made changes, right? They made changes to make it happen, but you're going to have probably some growing pains when you do that. So I would agree. Mercedes was lost, and I don't know how you finish second in the Constructors Championship. Yeah,
right. Made the best of what they had.
Yeah, they did.
Right.
And McLaren was so far off at the beginning, as we spoke about before, that they made a run at the end, and Aston started off so well and then fell back. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. They had the they had the best package, if you will, for
Mm. It's
2024
worst
or
team,
2023.
right? It's not a great team putting it
Yeah.
on track.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes, horrible package. Great team putting it on track.
Mm-hmm.
Aston, probably mediocre, right? Not mediocre, but kind of like pretty good in both areas, right? Pretty good team, pretty good car, pretty good engine, right? One great driver,
Continue to do the development, right? Right.
right?
That's just
Ran out of
what,
money,
yeah.
which I don't know how McLaren didn't run out of money. I don't know how you basically introduce a B spec car mid-season when you've got a cost cap.
Yeah. I don't know how they're not out of money. They spend and have drivers and in all different positions everywhere.
Yeah,
I don't know how the financials make sense there, but
right. Well, they're going to get some of that back from Alex Palou, $20 million or whatever.
one
Good luck
driver
with
at a
that.
time, we'll get our money back.
Yeah, yeah. Here's where you seem to park in the shared document. Daniel Ricciardo states that AlphaTauri is no longer a junior F1 team. You agree?
No, they're still a junior team.
You think
I,
so?
I think so.
Hmm.
They were this past season. Will they jump from the to the next level? I don't know.
I think so. They're going to buy everything they can off the mother team, right? Off the big team.
Then that still
They'll
makes you
buy
a junior
everything they
team.
can. Yeah, it does kind of make it a junior team. I'm trying to make a case for them being somewhat equal, but they're not, right? Like you
No,
wouldn't
they're
you wouldn't
not.
make Haas equal with Ferrari, and they buy everything they can from Ferrari.
No, he wouldn't.
So, yeah, you're right. All right, well there you go, Tim. Thanks for bringing me around.
All right, to the section I didn't read.
So the dinner with racers piece, right?
Oh,
This is what you alluded to in the beginning. I got a holiday card, happy holidays, from Dinner with Racers.
very nice.
I thought was pretty special. I actually got
Mm-hmm.
two cards, right? I got one from Ryan and I got one from Sean, which I thought was pretty cool. So that came in the mail. This came in the mail today.
Can you share what they wrote or no? It
Uh,
looks like there was a
it's
lot of
just,
stuff on there.
yeah, it's just funny stuff. It's there was the story about Bobby Unser buying these turkeys and trying to pick up women in Indianapolis. It's a story that Robin Miller shared on one of the episodes. It's the Robin Miller episode, so if you want to go listen to it, it's definitely worth it. And it just says, we hope your holidays are not spent editing, negotiating driver contracts, or just generally pandering. I'm a professional panderer, so I'll be pandering all my life. Ryan, Sean, Continental Tire, and Panda Bears. So I thought that was pretty
Nice.
cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
I got it upside down. But yeah, I thought that was pretty slick. So
Yeah,
thanks for
nice.
that. IMSA, Tim, IndyCar drivers who will compete at Daytona 24. There are 7 so far. There are still a lot of TBD drivers out there, which could open the door for more current or former IndyCar drivers, as well as maybe some NASCAR drivers who are so inclined to participate. But the 7 so far announced, anchored by this year's Indy 500 winner, Joseph Newgarden, Joseph with an F. Newgarden will be racing in the Penske GTP, the Porsche. Dixon back with his team, Ganassi Cadillac GTP. Colton Herta, it's the Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti
yeah.
Global Acura GTP.
They got Ericsson in there too.
Ericsson in there too, in the other WTR Andretti Global blah. God, Tim, say it for me.
WTR Andretti GTP.
There you go.
That's what you're asking me to say?
Yeah. Thanks for bailing me out.
Yeah.
I've been a little sick the last week, so yeah, my throat's getting dry.
You sound a little raspy.
Yeah. I like it though. I don't
thought you were just getting dirty with me. I didn't know what's going
on. It's funny. All the time we spend together, I don't think you want me to. Tom Blomqvist. This I find interesting. He is not leaving IMSA or GTP, but he's going to be racing one of the Whelen Cadillacs as one of the endurance drivers. So Tom will still be at the Daytona 24.
That's good. He can keep his skills there. He doesn't have to worry about getting rusty in those cars.
Yeah. It's when Shank gets back. Yeah. And then Kirk Cowwood is going to be racing for Vassar Sullivan in the Lexus GT3.
I like those cars. I don't know. They've had a
So
good
do I.
program
They're
there.
just winged stock cars, right?
Yeah, I like that. That's
So do
good.
I. That's why I like Forza Motorsport.
Yeah. Oh, I like it too. I was
Yeah,
driving some of the IMSA cars because you were
yeah,
talking about it.
yeah.
Uh,
That's the way to do
but
it.
yeah, we'll have to go online and play. Can we play together? I think so, right?
You know what I'd love to do if we can do it online, or even if we do it in person. I can host, or you can, of course. The Do one of the endurance races, like the 6 hours. Me, you, and
Yeah.
Biscuit will take time. We'll take our 45-minute allotted
Heck
times,
yeah.
and we'll race, and then we'll jump out and
I
right
heard you're
next guy,
recce though.
next man. I am Recky. That's why there's the rewind button, though. We're good to go.
Oh, you use that? I don't
Heck
use
yeah!
that.
If you're
Okay.
just Recky and you just wreck,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And
do
then you
that.
got
That's
number 7
crazy.
here, right? You got two,
Crazy talk.
4, 6. You got one more to go.
Alexander Rossi.
There you go.
Alexander Michael Rossi. Pfaff Motorsport GTD, along with his partner in crime, James Hinchcliffe, the mayor of Hinchtown. If you remember the moose plaid Porsche that has been in IMSA for the last several years, they're moving now to McLaren. And that could be why we're seeing Hinch and Rossi picking up duties there. It is a Canadian team, so that could also have something to do with it as well. So,
makes sense.
Tim, not necessarily IMSA news, but it's sports car news. Callum Ilott announced today as well that he'll be piloting the Hertz Porsche for Jota Sport in the WEC Championship. He'll have a chance to drive at the Indy 500 if one avails itself. And of course, he'll have opportunities to sub if there are opportunities there as well. I mean, we did have Connor Wright leave during the season. We had Jack Harvey leave during the season. So those types of situations do happen. It's good to see Callum here. My baby girl was very, very concerned about what was going to happen with Callum Ilott. I did not see this team on the entry list for Daytona 24, but there are some WEC teams that could be driving at Sebring. So it's quite possible we could see Callum at Sebring at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. So the WEC series is kind of the European equivalent of the IMSA series. And they're trying to bring some of those regulations together so the teams can race in each other's series. That's how the Cadillac team, right, with Sebastian Bourdais was able to go and race at Le Mans and those types of things. So I think that's what you're going to start seeing is a little bit more of that type of cross-pollination. So
I'm sad to see that he's leaving IndyCar. I thought he added a lot of flavor to IndyCar. Yeah. I thought he was really good. He's a really good racer, and so it's just disappointing the way it worked out with Hugo Salinger racing, and is
he kind of got screwed.
Kind of a sore spot for me right now.
Totally agree.
I'll get over it.
Yeah, totally agree. He's landing actually with a very good team. I did look them up earlier today. They have quite a bit of success racing in that endurance series in Europe. So I think if he were to land somewhere, I think he found himself landing in just about the right spot. I don't think that he has anything really to hang his head about on that. Le Mans, I just went past it. They will be at Sebring, Timmy.
Oh, nice.
They will be at Sebring, March 17th. Interesting. Okay. I don't know if he'll be there. So 10 podiums in the last 9 years at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Okay.
10 podiums in the last 9 years.
How's that?
I don't know.
Two
teams?
2 entries?
Yeah. 2 entries, yeah. 14, 15, 16, 17. That's first and second. 19, 20, 21, 22, first and third.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So he's definitely landing in the right spot. They field an LMDH team, which is what we call GTP in IMSA. And then they have an LMP2 team, which we call LMP2 in IMSA. So, but good for him. Good for him. I'm sad though that we're not going to be at Daytona this year, Timmy. 24 hours of Daytona.
Yeah, we
Aren't
did
you?
it the last 2 years, and decided. Well, I decided I wasn't going, and it sounds like you're not going now. So, um, it's a great event. I would
To
encourage
quote
folks to
Mark
go.
Miles, I'm definitely, possibly a maybe.
So uh, it's a great event. It's fun to be there. A year off isn't bad though.
Yeah.
Take a year off and reevaluate. But
Yep.
definitely a lot of room to roam. A lot of good people there. Um, and great racing. And 24 hours is great. Sleeping in the car with
So
you
weird.
for the last 2 years. I'm gonna probably miss that part too.
Yeah, it's so weird. Right? It is so weird. Although
It is
last year
weird.
I thought we got it down. That's why I thought this year we'd have it perfect, right? We got up, we went to the right, was it Sheets
Well, this
or Wawa?
past year was this year's
Yeah,
race
this
was it was
we went to
much.
Wawa, got our coffee, we got our breakfast
Oh
burrito, we
yeah,
walked back to the race, got to see the end of it. It was fun.
yeah, it was good. It was good. We
Yeah.
had a good time.
But if we don't make it to Daytona, we will definitely see IMSA racing at Detroit. And there's news out of Detroit today. Tim, what is that?
I think the tickets went on sale, and I call it an IndyCar
Yes,
event, but I agree, IMSA's back, so that adds to the excitement in Detroit. You need to go out and get your tickets and go because they put on a fabulous event.
I do. I can't. I think it'll be fun to see these cars on that track,
I think so
right
too.
along that long back stretch. They take
Yeah,
advantage of
for
the
sure.
hybrid
Down to the
powertrain.
hairpin, and then
Yeah,
through around by the river, and then there's more passing than people ever thought there was going to be in Detroit. And I know people don't like the layout, but at the end of the day, it did produce really good IndyCar racing, and I think it's going to do the same for IMSA.
yeah.
And so, yeah, you should get there for sure. They're going to sell out for sure. There's no way they're not going to sell that event out.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of, we talked about IndyCar a lot. I still don't understand, and it's one of those things where you'd like to invite like Nathan Brown back to talk about this, but I don't know how it is, Tim, that IMSA draws all these manufacturers, but IndyCar is still struggling to bring a third manufacturer. 17 race series,
No.
it's a growth series. You have the Indy 500, right? You're competing
Mm-hmm.
against Chevy and Honda, so it's not like you're competing against, no name brand engine manufacturers.
Yeah. Here,
So,
I've got a few theories when it doesn't, not a technical theory, but a few theories. You
mhm.
can put your car out there and it looks like your car that's on the road, number one. I think that
Yeah,
is a draw.
I give you that. Yep, for sure.
So consumers can identify, oh, that's a Lexus, that's a BMW, that's a Cadillac, whatever it might be. That's a Corvette. And so from that perspective, the consumer can make that relationship to what's on the showroom floor. And I
Yeah.
think that helps sell cars better than putting a name on an Indy car that they all look
Yep.
identical, because they
Let
are.
me pause you right there. Even, and I think we've talked about this, even the prototypes have the essence of the manufacturer.
They do. Yeah. It does draw it
Yeah.
out.
Yep. They
So
still
how
they
big is
still give you that.
chassis? And this sounds dumb, I know, but how big are chassis development and having new chassis in the series? I know you can't make it look like the road car, but at the same time, you can differentiate yourself if you have more than one chassis
We
manufacturer.
tried that though with the aero packages.
Yeah, but you have so much body kits on it. It was terrible. That you got to get away from all that. You got to do
Yeah.
stuff that makes sense from an aero package that
Yep.
really takes the car to the next level, not stuff that bolt on because it needs to look like this or look like that.
Yeah. Tim, do you remember the Mustang sampling prototype entry, the black and gold? It was a Cadillac at that point when you and I were there last year.
Vaguely, not a ton, but vaguely, yes. It
So
was
I
like the
remember
the
it because
oddball one out. You're like, what is this
yeah,
Cadillac? Yeah, yeah.
it's
I
the
remember.
liveries, right? So I like liveries. It's got a cool livery, the black and gold, right? John Player Special
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
I think of. Okay, I had no idea what they were. They're moving. They're no longer Cadillac team. They're no longer sponsoring a Cadillac team. They're now a customer Porsche team in IMSA for 2024. And I had no idea who they were, so I looked them up.
And
Mustang Sampling is the innovator of analytically accurate solutions within sampling, conditioning, Systems. They provide custom solutions of products and services globally to the natural gas liquids, and renewable natural gas, liquefied natural gas industries, including hydrogen blending and carbon sequestration. How do you like that?
Wow.
That's pretty slick. I had no idea that that's what that was.
Yeah.
I
That is
had
pretty
no, if you'd have given me 100 guesses, I would have never come up with that.
cool.
Never come up with that.
I'm looking at the livery right now. It's amazing, Dan. I don't know
Yeah.
how I couldn't remember that
Right. Looks pretty good.
vividly.
Yeah.
For sure.
So they will continue to be a presence in IMSA, but just this time moving over to a Porsche team rather than the Cadillac team. Sounds like Cadillac's, withdrawing or contracting a bit of their efforts.
Yep.
They have the one car at WEC. I think they've got the two with Ganassi, and then your Whelen entry, which is Tom Blomqvist, will be piloting one of those cars, or the Whelen car at Daytona 24 as the endurance driver. So
Perfect.
that's all I got, Tim.
Well, Dan, it's always fun hanging out with you.
It was a blast.
Enjoy the show.
Always
good stuff. I feel bad.
What do you want to call it? Do you want to call it the hodgepodge,
today,
or do you want to call it random news and notes? Because you're going to post it.
Random news and notes is how it's going to go down. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to posting. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Happy holidays, all the listeners. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This will be our last show of the year. You'll be looking back for us again on January 8th will be our first show after the holidays and after the new year and all that other good stuff. So I am looking forward to a great 2024 season. I have a lot of plans in place to attend many races this coming season. I'm looking forward to that. I'm not out of Daytona 24, but if I do decide to go to that, I'll report from there on our social media channels. That'll be fun. But looking forward to a great 2024, Timmy.
I am as well. I think it'll be good. I think there'll be some good racing. There's going to be a lot of great stories, and we're going to have some fun doing what we do here on this show, and we'll continue to do it.
We did
we got the support of the listeners, which we do right now, and we'll continue to plug away. And we're always looking for suggestions, thoughts. You got something you want to say, please feel free to reach out to us. And if you want to send Dan a card, he's more than happy to give you his address, and you can send it over to his place.
How weird, right? That I just responded. Sure.
Yeah. Love it.
I don't even buy things off a marketplace and have them sent to the house. I send them elsewhere. And this one just was a random DM on Twitter. I was like, sure.
Very nice.
There you go. We get great Twitter. We get good engagement on the YouTube more so than anywhere else. But we're always looking for that and improvement and what have you. So we do appreciate everybody that listens, everybody that engages with us. I love that. So I love it when people say big deal. I love it when people say wrong. That's always some of my favorite things. So I am looking forward to the time off, but I'll be equally anxious to get right back here on the 8th and talk about anything that's happened in IndyCar, Formula One, maybe some NASCAR, and definitely IMSA between now and then. So, but until then, happy holidays, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.